welcome back to our third episode. We're so excited to have you again, Michael. Thank you for coming.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear this because for our listeners and viewers, we're going to be talking about what's life been like since your son's been home, and we're in for a treat. I'm excited.
It's my favorite part because it's a real contrast to if anyone's been listening to the first two pieces of what we put together here. Let's
start though with what was it like bringing him home at the very beginning?
Okay. So I'm going to have to reframe this because I recognize that the coming home piece is it's an outcome I think that most people and families want. It was not ours. He did not come home.
That's right.
Coming home, and let me give more context on this, and that's okay. Coming home is, I think, what parents want because it's an environment that is supportive. It could be supportive of their child, friends, school, family, those things that create a family environment that I guess most families, that was not our situation. Kris, because he, my family's kind of fractured. His mom and had become distant over time. His mom is from Hungary. Her family's in Budapest, although they flew to visit. We've flown there and visited family every year. So coming home for him was not going to be a literal step. And I think that as we watched our son, because he did come home for periods of time, but the pattern was pretty consistent. He'd come home, and there weren't enough energies to support him continuing the success he would gain. So he would gain some success, come home, and then revert, and that happened 3 times. So I think that we were pretty clear. And the team, not just his mom and I, but the team of folks that, ed consultant and other professionals and even people at the program, as we talked about, what would be the next step, coming home was never really in the mix.
Just to pause right there real quick. I think it's important for our listeners to know, in a residential treatment center, typically you have home visits as they progress in the program.
Yes, and he did. He came home.
And those home visits are, they're really tests. They're to see, are you able to use your skills at home?
Absolutely. And not just with DR, but when Kris had home visits, he would do pretty well. The challenge for us was that, and the pattern was that he would complete a program, do really well, come home, and then very, very quickly revert back to old behaviors, coping mechanisms, and becoming assertive and aggressive in ways that were not conducive to life. He did better outside of the home for whatever reason. Maybe that's another episode. Kris was at DR, and he was finishing his freshman, sophomore year. Anyway, so he wasn't going to come home, and we talked this about him. And I understand. Home is important. Fundamentally, conceptually, to any child, it's like home plate, home base, mom and dad. And I would never suggest that we didn't want that for him. The challenge was that home as a long term was clearly not going to be the best choice for him. And I talked about this with him very sincerely. And my question to him is, what are you coming home to? And that was the answer. Well, mom and dad. Yeah. Okay. Other than your mom and dad, what are you coming home to? And unfortunately, his journey took him out of public school.
That's right.
Never had the opportunity to, the friendships that he had younger prior to the challenges he's had. Most of those kids moved out of the neighborhood, moved on. They fell apart. He kept them electronically, but not in person. He didn't have any continuity at a school. The most recent experience, or younger, he was going to, in Jersey City, the public school system's not the best choice for kids that want to do well academically. Mm-hmm. So he went to a private school, which most families did. A lot of families did. He got kicked out of that school and had never been in a school.
Yeah.
Like most people think of since 2018. So our best choice for him was what would be the next best step for Kris to continue to support him and the success he's had in completely changing his approach behaviorally to life and relationships with authority figures. And so, we had this was going to be a transition period because you finish high school and then you graduate and what do you do next kind of thing. So we were put in touch with an ed consultant that specializes in high school and college, particularly colleges, particularly with kids who are challenged and need some extra support. So it was a difficult decision, but it was the right one. It just was.
I love that you bring that up too, because going home isn't always the story for every family. I would say, in my experience, there's been maybe about half or sometimes less than half that go to a transition program. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of realizing that you don't just fix the child, you have to look at the whole system and what's going to set them up for success.
Correct. Yeah. And so for Kris, as the team, the experts that we rely on, the ed consultant and staff, the considerations were, okay, on paper, this is like I don't know, because up until, so he arrived at Discovery Ranch December of 2018, and we started talking about next steps a year later.
Yeah.
And he didn't leave the program until March of the following year. So he was there for 15 months. So we started talking about this, and on paper, he's a high-risk kid. From an institutional organization,
yes.
From a dysregulation perspective, he's high risk.
Yeah.
So we looked at a few opportunities that said, yeah, okay. One, all in this area. One was up in Orem that specializes with kids that are neurodivergent. Mm-hmm. Another one down in Parowan. And the third was down in Cedar City. And each of them was differently but similarly a step down in structure and an increase in freedoms and agency and autonomy where, he could make his own choices, but still trained and expertise and have an expertise in dealing with kids who dysregulate and have a history of not knowing, acting it out behaviorally, hitting, kicking, punching, and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're experts in that. He chose.
Oh, really?
What I did with him, and his mom agreed. She was absolutely on board with this. He had just become. I wish I had someone here with me who knew my son from 8 years ago. Who could communicate, I'm his dad, but who he had become is unrecognizable to who he was, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, particularly if someone witnessed him when he was dysregulated and really just coming off the rails. He had almost no incidences. His level of maturity was astounding sometimes. I mean, I caught myself. I said to his mom a couple of times, I can't believe that just came out of his mouth, the maturity. He for whatever reason, I didn't know it was, DR supported him and Kris and he did the work, but he just matured. And the decision that returning home was not a good choice for him. It was dumb. I'm sorry. It just was.
Yeah.
It would have been a choice out of programming and isms and which I don't subscribe to. The best thing, and his mom agreed, and we all agreed, was for him to finish high school under the umbrella of these types of programs. So we talked about it. We were offered 4 options. One was in New York. I think it was New York.
So closer to home.
Yeah, much closer to home. And the other 3 were out here. His mom and I went and visited the one in New York, and we agreed that I'd fly out here, pick him up, and he and I did the tour.
Okay.
Hopped in a car.
I love it.
Scheduled all the meetings, and he and I, we drove around to a program in Orem, and we hopped down to Parowan, and went down to Cedar City to the third one. And I let me put this into, I want to draw, see if I can describe something that'll allow listeners to, particularly if they've listened to who this kid was 2 years ago. And I'll never forget it. We were visiting one of the programs down in Parowan, and we were meeting the director. And my son had earned all the privileges that a child can earn at Discovery Ranch, had lots of freedom, had the maximal freedoms, excelled. He just did. He top tier, a level no neurodivergent kid had ever reached. Was doing really well. He was just doing really well. And so transitioning from that program to another one, the other program, the new people are looking on paper, right? And they have their rules and regulations.
And on paper, he probably did not look great.
You look good, but one of the things that he loved that allowed him, I think really helped him, it was like his blanket, was his phone. Not that he had games, no, but just having it. And coming into this program, any of the programs we spoke to, no phone. First month, it's on probation. It's not a punishment. We just need to see how you do. And if it goes well, you're going to get it quickly. Not months, a couple of weeks, at the most a month. And we sat down with the director, Matt, and I watched my son negotiate with this guy and advocate around the rule and him and his experience to get his phone. I was speechless watching. He was sitting there negotiating and advocating, which I'd never seen before. And I'll be damned. Matt listened, pushed back, listened. And it was a mature. It was like 2 adults. We're this young man, my boy,
who headbutted a policeman,
who just would just fly off that. Just watching him, was just extraordinary. And I wish we had filmed it. And I'll be damned. Matt said, "Okay, we have the flexibility here." That's one of the things we liked about the program. There was flexibility. And after discussing it, and Matt watching my son, said, "Okay, I'll make a deal with you. We'll let you have it. It's a probationary period." And what the beautiful thing is?
Yeah.
He never used the damn thing. He just wanted it. But to see him, the kid who, when he wanted something and someone in authority pushed back and he blew up and would go after them.
Yeah.
But to watch him sit back and with such maturity and intelligence negotiate with this guy and win was really just beautiful. That was one of those moments like, okay.
Yeah.
Now I really get it. So he did that and he chose that program actually.
Okay.
He ended up choosing it. They had he loved the horsemanship thing, really excelled at it. Mm-hmm. The equine therapy piece, if you will, it's got to be something other than therapy, but that's what they call it. But having these boys develop relationships with horses and animals that are intelligent and very sentient, I think really helps them to connect with themselves and learn how to deal with themselves, because that's how horses are.
Yeah. Well, especially for a child on the spectrum. Horses are great because horses mirror your body language. They mirror what you bring to the table. And so
they read your energy.
Yeah, they read your energy.
That's what it is. It's a vibration.
Yeah, yeah.
It just is. They
Absolutely.
feel they read the vibe.
Well, and they're less threatening than having a conversation with a human, with someone else who you've got to, read the body language and try to read between the lines. And it's hard. It's hard for a kid on the spectrum. Yeah. So animals are a lot safer, especially horses.
Yeah, and my son loves animals, always has, and he loved that piece at DR. So, so the decision was that was the choice. Home for him was going to be continuing his high school journey in places that he gets to choose. So he attended that program. The ed consultant, this was really smart of her. I love this. What she wanted, she said, this needs to be a step. Going from Discovery Ranch into a regular school doesn't sound like the best choice for him. He needs a intermediate step. And the program he went into was like a step down from a structure and restrictiveness from Discovery Ranch. And then the next school he went to after, because he was only at that program for 3 months or 4 months, finished up sophomore. He had finished up academically. Behaviorally, it didn't make sense for him to stay there anymore. And the next step was a school that is basically a normal prep school, residential type of school with some extra support. Okay. That's all. Like a one-on-one mentor counselor, once a week outpatient therapy, and going to school with a bunch of other kids. And this is his first co-ed experience too. So that was a nice piece too. Yeah. His mom and I wanted that from an experience perspective to learn how to begin to, what is it like being around girls? You know? Yeah. Not that he has to learn anything, but it's different than just being around boys. So it was a great choice. Did really well academically. Couple of really cool things that, from a parent perspective, are just awesome. Took it upon himself, applied to and got hired as an employee at Walmart and had a part-time job while he was going to high school.
That's so cool.
You could have knocked me over with a feather. I was like, you what? He said, yeah, I'm starting to work at Walmart, next week. I was like, holy crap. And, from a parent perspective, that hurt. I was super happy and proud of him, but it also hurt. It's like I didn't get to teach my kid how to ride a bike, kind of a thing. Yeah. And he was doing driver ed out here, working towards his license, but I did put him behind the wheel, so I got to do that with him. Okay, good. Yeah, when I came out to visit him, when did I start? Yeah, I started that spring. Oh, he was a DR still. That's right. I told Kris Brown. That's right. Because I knew driving was coming up. Yeah. And I put him behind the wheel. It's right over here in Springville. Yeah, that's where it was. Okay. And I put him behind the wheel and let him drive around, the block and practice, brake, stop, signal, look, go. So he got his license there. So he got a job. Driver's ed, passed, got his license.
Experience with girls, which is huge.
That's literally was coming out of my mouth.
Oh, was it? Met
and started a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with a girl. They really hit it off, and they became boyfriend and girlfriend.
I just got to stop you because...
No,
yeah. Sorry. Well, it's just so amazing to hear. You started off the story with that your son was so dysregulated, aggressive, spinning out, to making the progress of realizing he could be empowered and have the confidence and start building that confidence that he could start making his own choices, right? And managing the internal storm he had going and how to regulate that, to now, making all these huge steps for a kid who's on the spectrum and neurodivergent is huge.
And then venture into the incredibly tumultuous waters of having a girlfriend.
Huge.
On top of everything. It's like...
Yeah.
And to watch him navigate it with so well. And the school had there were forces in play in him that he had never experienced before. Teenagers and hormones and what. They can't kiss. They can't cuddle. there were some very strict rules around when and where they could do whatever they wanted. And he navigated it really well. Never heard anything about it. I know he was not perfect, and I would never expect him to be, but he navigated that too.
That's huge.
This is a kid who would kill for a bag of like trail mix from me.
Yeah.
To like negotiating the powers of the forces of nature inside of him as a man with a girl.
Yeah.
And being able to manage that in the context of these rules blows my mind.
Yeah. That's huge. If you have a kid on the spectrum, you know how major these steps are and how much progress that takes.
And you know, on one hand, I it's kind of sad I didn't get to witness it, but I have afterwards.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she was leaving the program, and he made to him, the plan was he's attending this program, finish junior year, finish senior year, and this program, it's actually prep school, has a relationship with Southern Utah University, and to start taking some university classes, see how that feels.
Yeah.
With the potential of going to college, you know, graduating from high school, and then maybe going to college out here. Of course, that was my plan, and you know the old adage. You make plans, and you know God laughs, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this young woman was leaving the program in February of the same. He arrived in September. That February she was leaving. That relationship was more important to him than fulfilling my plan. And he took it upon himself, and we talked about it, but he initiated the plan before we really talked about it.
Yeah.
He accelerated his academics and graduated from high school a year early so he could leave. And the girls from the East Coast, and because they wanted to be together, they wanted access to each other.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more convenient than her at home on the East Coast and him out here in Utah. And we talked about it, and in the spirit of wanting to offer him more autonomy and more agency, and more, you know, sovereignty, and you know, take steering his life. You know, his mom and I said, okay, you know, let's I want that for him. Okay, let's do it. And you know, and it's an opportunity. I think, you know, you might agree, if you want to create a field of opportunity for someone to experience suffering and pain and struggle, get into a romantic relationship.
All's fair in love and war.
Right, but right. That's
true.
That's such fertile ground. And you know, if it's going to be an opportunity for him to have life experiences which will test him, and you know, he's going to succeed or fail. And that's where I was at that point as a parent. You know, where the arc of transformation I had gone through and how I saw my role in his life, I was beginning to step back and be, you know, more of a guide and support than a steerer.
Yeah, and jumping in and
so we supported that. And so he graduated a year early from high school with a 3.8 GPA, getting his driver's license and going through all that stuff. Took it upon himself, applied to college, got accepted to college, and earned a scholarship.
Oh my goodness. What did you graduate GPA?
3.8.
Oh my heavens.
A year early.
Yeah. And before this, he was behind, right?
Yes. When he landed at DR, he was about 6 months behind.
Oh my goodness.
4 or 5 months. Five. Yeah, it was not insignificant, but it was not insurmountable.
Yeah.
It was enough. But he did it. You know, he put it together. And now we were in the throes of all the preparation that goes to having a child begin to transition into, you know, a higher education, a college, which is a lot. It's crazy. Housing and, you know, and you know, this is a good point too. In the spirit of romantic relationship and difficulties and so on and so forth, his mom and I agreed, you know, we're not going to support them living together at college, and had to communicate that to him.
How did he take that?
And it was nice to see him go through what he went through, which was almost nothing. It was almost like he sort of expected it. He was sad. He wasn't angry. He was just sad. And, you know, body language sad. He's like, yeah, I understand. literally, that's what he was like. It was just like a person who moved through this, a feeling or emotion of sadness and moved right out of it into, I get it.
Yeah. He stayed regulated through a difficult emotion.
Right. Yeah. So his plan is, come September, he'll be a freshman in college. On this next amazing, chapter in his life. This is college. I explained this to him. What do you think college is about? And from my perspective, I think it's about studies and math and blah, blah. And I said, that's a piece of it. That's only a small piece. It's sort of like when you get like a shot, most of the liquid going into your body is a carrier. It's just something to deliver the medicine with. That's all it is. In college, it's like the academics is, just a piece of it. And
Absolutely.
The rest of it, what happens around there are things and opportunities which are going to help to take and expand your perspective in life. And they say, expand your horizons, but give you more experiences as the next step to set up for life. Like, what are you going to do for the rest of your life?
How are launch into adulthood,
right? Well,
which is more than just passing a test,
right? Right. How are you going to pay for? How are you going to support yourself? You want to find something you enjoy, and go out and have fun, and meet other people that aren't in a program, kind of a thing,
Or even just the simple things in life of like, I remember going to college and be like, I've got to create a shopping list. I got to figure out meal plans. I got to do my laundry. Like, there's no one here to do this for me,
and no one's going to tell you.
Yeah. No one's going to tell me.
Unless you got a pile of stinky laundry and then like the dorm, supervisor's going to come over.
Or no one's going to tell you to change your bed sheets, right? You got to decide that.
Yeah. So that's where he is now.
Yeah. Wow.
We're in the throes of that.
I want to touch on, first of all, I think it's important for our listeners to hear that it's not uncommon for a kid who is neurodivergent and on the spectrum. And I know I keep saying that, but just to kind of educate and help put things into perspective, to a kid not to go home right out of a program who's on the spectrum, because of their maturity process takes a little bit longer. And those neurotransmitters and creating those new neural pathways in their brain, it takes time. It takes
to mold that neuroplasticity into like a different structure.
It does. Yeah. So it's not uncommon to be like, they're not going to just come straight home.
There is no quick fix for kids like my son.
Yeah.
It's time and patience and persistence.
Lots of patience.
You clinically, you nailed it. It's about undoing the grooves of neuropathways that took him to coping and, dysregulation and reaching out to coping, and having those new neurons and neuropathways connect and begin to fire on a regular basis, which drives new behavior.
Well, and their brain is wired differently. And so to help them, they can gain empathy. They can start creating, development in their frontal cortex and being able to make those, decisions ahead, right? Thinking ahead, that doesn't come naturally.
Not to them, no.
Not to them. And to help them process through like, okay, when I'm in a relationship, when I say this and I see her body language react this way, it's not natural for them to be like, oh, she's angry. It takes that extra effort for them to make those connections. So it's a longer process on so many levels to launch them into adulthood. And so parents who may not be used to having a kid on the spectrum or who's neurodivergent, is frustrating because it's like, well, you're 18. You should be an adult now.
Right. Which I find myself saying sometimes too. He's 17. And I have to stop myself, catch myself and say, no, he sees things differently. He doesn't think like you do. Yeah. And you have decades of experience, Michael. Give the kid a break.
Yeah.
I literally find myself saying that to myself.
Well, I think most parents need to say that. I have to say that to myself too. I'm like, oh, my daughter's 14. Of course, she's going to leave everything, all her lunch out on the table. And I got to help her remember to put it away. Because sometimes I'm like, just put it away.
This is so wonderful. Talk about, so he doesn't live with me. I don't see him every day. And I still am working on processing through the trauma, what it was like to experience that with him, and waiting for the other shoe to fall. And it has dissipated. It's gotten softer and softer, but it's still there sometimes. And the evidence keeps coming forth for me with him around, like, is he going to make it at college? Is he going to be able to know what to do and be organized?
Yeah.
And I, every time I'm like in that place of like, oh man, I wonder if I'll be talking to him.
Go ahead.
And hey, Kris, okay, I'm behind you. I'm going to be looking over your shoulder. I'm not doing it for you.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, Dad, I got it. And I hear something from him. All right, Dad, I got to put this on my calendar. He's using a freaking calendar. Mic drop. I was like, okay, that alone, I think that speaks so much particularly for my son, was mind-boggling. I was like, okay, he's using a calendar to remind himself he's got to finish this questionnaire by next Tuesday. Love kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, and I remember the term that I was trying to say in the last episode. Brene Brown, where you're anticipating the next shoe to drop. It's foreboding joy. It's when...
Oh, yeah. I heard her say that a while back.
I just love it, though, because especially if you're in trauma or you've had PTSD and you're like...
I'm happy, but the other shoe's going to drop.
Yeah,
I have foreboding with my joy.
Yes, exactly. But you were talking about that of... having such a history with your son of like, okay, when he's doing really good, now when is something bad going to happen, right? Because it's hard. It's a vulnerable place to be. But to get to see him make those choices, putting it on his calendar, getting a job, applying to college, getting a scholarship, like all that is helping you guys heal and build that confidence again in your relationship. Yeah. I want to shift gears to you and his mom's relationship, because I really need our viewers to hear this, because coming from a divorce background, I've been divorced. I have a lot of empathy. I know how difficult, how painful it is. I wish it on not even my worst enemy. It's so hard and to describe. Yeah. At the same time, when you have kids, it's so incredibly important for you to co-parent and work together and put aside your own pain. So talk to my viewers about how you and his mom have done that.
It probably begins when she and I met. We were getting to know each other. One of the things that we agreed on in the context of our relationship, we both agreed that, we would never become people who stayed married for the benefit of the kids, that we weren't willing to sacrifice staying together because of some outside influence if we weren't happy. If it wasn't working, we weren't willing to pretend.
Yeah.
And if we ever got there. And we talked about it, because I had been married before and she had too.
Okay.
So we came into the relationship, having had that experience, and we're pretty candid about that. And
that takes a lot of maturity and insight, honestly.
I would never call myself mature at the time, but thank you. That's okay. In some ways I was, much like my son. So I can't, you'd have to ask her about her perspective. From mine, I was pissed. I'm going to own it. And I was not I wasn't abusive about it. I was mad at her, and I blamed her because she wouldn't get any help. And I'm sorry I took that place, but I came into the relationship with more awareness around healing and asking for help. And it's not her. It's not her culture. It's not what she grew up with. She was so lost. And not because she's naive or dumb or anything like that. She's a smart woman, but there was no context in life experience, and particularly coming from where she came from, for her to begin to know where to. So even with my suggestion and pointing here, from my perspective, I was pissed because she didn't fulfill what I asked of her in a way that met my approval. Mm-hmm. And I was really pissed. I really was. And I got called out on that too. And I apologized to her. We talked about this. I guess we were a good couple. I mean, we were very much in love and had fun, and we both wanted to be parents and look forward to it. Although, in hindsight, I can see it was from a perspective of naivete. Both of us. I'm going to speak for her, but I'm not speaking for her. That's what I loved about her. She said the most important thing for me is becoming a mom in life, and I was like, great, I want to be a dad. Yeah. And so off we went. And, Kris brought out the weaknesses in where we didn't meet. He exposed those weaknesses and differences in approach. They weren't grand, but they were there. We were both, I blamed her for coddling him and enabling him, brushing his teeth for him because he wouldn't brush his teeth, kind of thing. And practicing my approach. I wasn't in the moment, but I am now. And it's like, because I was guilty of the same damn thing. And I was just making it about her. And so as Kris went through what he went through, and at the different stages, increasingly, particularly when we left the New Jersey system and came into the private system with DR, we worked on our relationship too, and began to take ownership to the best of our ability. I stopped holding her to a standard of expectation wasn't appropriate, wasn't right for me to hold her to. She is who she is. She did the best she could. And just because I don't think she did it the way that I want her to do it doesn't give me the right to minimize or demean her level of effort. It gave me the opportunity to see her with different eyes, and see her for who she was rather than who I wanted her to be in the context of my son and his challenges.
Yeah.
We're still friends, we're not romantically linked or anything like that, but she's my son's mom. And I think that she does a great job. And I think she feels the same about me. We never went to the place of, using our son as a weapon against each other or used him as, like a bargaining chip. He was never a thing. One of the things that we were complimented on, and I don't want to be shy about it, but
no, please don't.
The programs, complimented is that, our desire and purpose, as parents, was really in alignment. We wanted, we were both there and wanted this for our son. We wanted to have an experience with our son that was different than it had been because it sucked. It was horrible. And we wanted a better experience, not necessarily together, but individually, for her as a mom and me as a dad. And we hung out together a little bit. We don't vacation together, but we came to the parent weekend, and we started splitting up the visits. She would visit him. And the beautiful thing was that, her visiting him, there was no threat. There was no potential for an issue. Yeah. That was always a problem. My son targeted women. He really went after women, for however he experienced. That was one of the things he did. I don't want to put words in his mouth, and that was a problem, particularly with his mom.
Yeah,
she couldn't be with him, and it wasn't necessarily her fault, but she could take him off and be out playing around in Utah for 3 or 4 days, and then drop him off, no issue. And that was wow. Oh my God,
yeah,
I was so happy for them. So it wasn't easy. Yeah, it sucked. But it's like what do you want? You want to suffer forever, or do you want to make the hard choice and suffer through the emptiness for a short period of time, and see and have the curiosity to see what life fills it with, kind of a thing. So
I love that, because I feel like sometimes I've had couples come in my office who are divorced and just can't even be on the same phone call. And yet their kid is suicidal, struggling, possibly in trouble with the law, whatever reason, and in so much pain. And I'm like, I can see that you're both in so much pain, but can we just pause it? You can go take care of your own pain outside of this, but right now your child needs to be the focus. And that takes a lot of healing. It takes a lot of insight. Getting over, honestly, being selfish.
It took some managing for me for Kris's first program, and the director gave me the riot act around that. She really did. She called me out on it. Rather
than to make each other suffer in pain, which I remember being told, you guys have been in a lot of pain, you've gone through pain, but now is a chance to make your kids the center of attention and to not have them go into pain anymore, because the only ones who suffer are the kids. When you make each other suffer, the kids suffer the most. And so you saying, you can either go through long suffering or you can go through a short period of suffering and see what's, I can't remember how you phrased it, but you phrased it much more beautifully than I am. But
well, you can suffer continuously or suffer the short period of time in the emptiness that will be open,
yes,
the void. And with some curiosity around, okay, what will I fill it with?
Exactly. And you also mentioned how you respected his mom. Like you didn't necessarily, you cared about her, you respected her.
I didn't respect her for a long time. I learned to.
You learned to. Thank you.
Right, because I was made aware of, became self-aware of, and then changed the lens through which I saw her. I was looking at her through the lens of the expectations of what I would have on myself.
Yeah.
And, shocking to me, she's not me.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's not easy,
yeah.
but that's what was going on for me, distilled down to the simplest form.
Yeah.
She's not me. And that's what I was doing to her what my dad did to me. Mm. I was perpetuating the generational trauma, if you will.
So, the key thing for our listeners is that it takes work. There is chance to forgive, to move on, no matter how bad the other person's hurt you. Ultimately, though, your child needs to be the focus.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, he was.
In order for, and that's what I wanted to bring to our listeners is how amazing that story is, because that's very unique. Sadly to say, to have two parents come into, my office and be able to work together who are divorced. It's not the norm. And to make their child the focus and to have respect and care for the other person through the difficult pain they're already in. So
on top of, the pain and the suffering and the challenge with our son's challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
so.
we
anyway,
we piled it on during that period of time.
Yeah,
we piled a lot on. We really did.
Yeah.
And we made it. We lived through it.
Well, but I just love your story of hope and healing. And for those of our listeners who may be struggling through having to co-parent and it's messy, and a child who's maybe on the spectrum, or maybe they're just struggling with other various mental health issues, there is hope.
He's not Mr. Wonderful. He's not Mr. Perf. He's a normal kid now. And we have what I now understand are the normal, if you will, teenage issues.
Yeah.
He still has he still copes. He's still gaming a little bit more, but he's aware of it. His relationship with food is still a coping one, but he's aware of it, and he's going to study nutrition. And he wants to apply and address himself, through as part of his experience at college. Yeah, I guess my point is yes, it's possible. Yes, there is hope. Just beware of what you're expecting.
Oh yeah. You're still going to get a knucklehead teenager back at home or wherever kind of relationship. You're not getting this grown adult, even if they're 17, 18, leaving the program. Yeah. You're still going to have but it's going to be the normal teenager challenges, right?
Yeah.
Which
it's so funny. I just remembered this. I used to say to myself, 75% of my life and the time of my life, my son is like, it sucks. 80-20, 80% suck, 20% okay, 90-10 sometimes. I just want 60-40. I just want, I can deal with 60% crisis, crap, nonsense that came with his challenges, and just 40% okay, normal. And I got more than that. I really did. I think that it's more like 90-10, 90%. He's just a regular kid finding his way. Not sure, not really sure. He's just finding his way. He's on his journey. He's 17. And my challenge, and I recognize this, and I don't remember being 17. I can't remember what it felt like, and that's my biggest struggle with him, is just being patient with him.
Yeah. It's hard as an adult when we've had so many years of experience and learning, and our brains developed, and matured, not fully matured. Still got a ways to go.
Get your point, right.
But it's hard to remind ourselves.
Like decades of experience and awareness. I didn't have this awareness as a teenager. Give me a break, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm finding as a dad, I'm really settling into this place of, this is kind of fun. I mean that.
Yeah.
I've never, up until, except for when he was younger and we would play on the bed and wrestle and daddy beat up time. I haven't felt that with him for like 10 years. And it's so cool. And now I get to watch him and grow and expand and stumble and mess up and be okay with him messing up. It's okay, man. Nobody's hurt. Cool. We can get a new car. The car's replaceable.
What a beautiful thing. Because honestly, I'm kind of coming in my own personal life into teenager world. And
Buckle up, Buttercup.
I know. Trust me. I know.
I can speak from experience now.
Yes. At the same time, though, I've worked with teenagers for so long, and I've had to work with the real ends of the spectrum of teenagers, right, who are really struggling. And so I'm just kind of like, I get these moments where I get the sass and I get the eye rolls and I get the silent treatment and I get the, why are you asking me, how my day was? And I'm like, because I care. You have a mom who cares and loves you. but I'm having those joy moments of like, it's actually kind of cool to have these conversations with you now. Like I can actually have more adult conversations and connect with you. And to hear you get to finally experience that and what you may have lost in the grief that you had with your son and those moments, like to get that.
There's no loss. I'm not going there. No, I hear what you're saying.
No. Yeah. Sorry. Not to go down that road, but so beautiful
I'm grateful for
you.
what I have, and I'm I'm becoming a little cringeworthy too. It's really cool. Yeah. It's like, I get that. Oh, Dad.
You've made it then.
Oh, stop. Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny is I felt pride.
Yeah.
Where like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been hurt. I would have been like, oh no, because I was too empathic and concerned and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm that dad.
Right.
I'm that dad, man.
Yeah. Perfect.
And he called me empathic.
You're doing something right. That's how I gauged as a therapist when I got some of the names called at me or, really pissed someone off. It's like, we're doing the right thing.
I picked that up and I had a little celebration going on inside of me. Like, yep, I've arrived. I'm a dad.
You arrived.
I'm doing a good job.
I say, when your kid's really pissed at you and you're holding that hard boundary and they call you those names, just know you're on the right track.
Yeah, and you're not engaging them at the battle level. You're
exactly.
You're just like, no, man, I'm in my sovereignty, and that's impenetrable.
It really is.
Yeah. Wow.
What advice would you leave with our listeners who have tuned in today to hear your story and maybe are going through something similar that you once did?
You have to question yourself. You and I touched on it. Why is this happening? What is this circumstance? What is this situation in my life? What is this telling me about me? Because it's information. Yeah, it sucks. Your kid's in crisis, trouble, drugs, alcohol, police, stuff like. Until you stop and ask yourself, what is this telling me? And in that moment, that's where your curiosity, and I want to say it's like humility and curiosity kick in. That's where the change begins. That's where it's going to start. It's going to get ugly, and it probably will get worse before it gets better. There is no easy fix. Stay curious. Ask for help. Don't trust. As you're asking for help, and there's a lot out there, not all of it is necessarily going to be right for you. Learn to use discernment to trust your gut. Just because somebody says they're an expert, they may very well be, but they may not be an expert for you. Mm-hmm. Be patient with yourself. Learn to love yourself. Learn to accept yourself and be okay. It's not the end of the world. Just the awareness and the admission that you're part of the problem, part of the challenge. You're also part of the solution. That's key. Mm-hmm. We talked about that. You know that.
Yeah.
It's out there. There's help. It'll find you. As soon as you ask for help inside yourself, the help is it's on its way. I've seen that in my life over and over and over. I'm not saying it as a platitude because I read some book. I've lived it in my life, and I've observed it. and because I've observed it so often, I feel like I have the authority to say that that's how life works. I do. And I hope, and Kris hopes, and his mom, we all hope that in my being here and sharing this story, that it helps someone. That if our story and if it helps someone, then it was well worth it, for me.
100%. These stories do reach people who need to hear it. And your story and your vulnerability and your braveness to come on here to share your journey and the heartache, but also the healing, and to give hopefully our listeners some hope.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
His story and that young man and what he accomplished with a lot of help he's like a poster child for possibilities.
Absolutely.
Not every kid's going to be like him, but there are aspects of Kris's story that I think are woven into every kid's story that's yet unfolded, but they're there. No one's life is the same.
I think back to the Brene Brown of the man in the arena, right? Like when you're truly living a vulnerable life, you're going to get kicked down in the dirt. But what matters is that you keep getting back up, right?
Yeah.
Keep fighting the fight.
There's a poem that became like...
is it by Teddy Roosevelt, right?
No. Aurora Mountain Dreamer,
Okay.
The Invitation. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think I have.
Yeah. I invite you to look it up. Aurora, ORIAH, Mountain Dreamer.
Okay.
It's called The Invitation, and there's a phrase in there about parenthood, and can you wake up in the morning weary, bruised, and battered to the bone, and get up the next day and do what needs to be done to feed the children? And it's so funny because that poem went through me like a lightning bolt, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, not knowing, fast forward, particularly that phrase, I didn't know. It was like a foreboding, it was a foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, yeah.
Yeah, but that I just got up and did what needed to be done.
It's been an honor to be able to hold space for you to tell your story. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.